another world, another life.
Driftwood the Musical, based on the best-selling memoir, tells the incredible true story of one family's miraculous escape from Nazi Germany. Critics describe it as mesmerising, sublime and stunningly crafted. Our world premiere season sold out. Don't miss out. Book tickets now for the May and June seasons at driftwoodthemusical.com.au.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded.
And I remember turning to these guys and I was like, as if this is happening right now, like today, as if this is happening. And then that room just felt so, I don't know how would you describe it? Like
just real, I guess, would be the thing. It's the reality of the show. It really seeped into, like, the connection between what was happening in reality and now the fiction of the show has really became
just
one.
Melded. It was crazy.
You're listening to the Theatre Thoughts podcast. My name's Justin and I'm so happy to have you here. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, welcome to our exclusive chats with some of the best artists that the theatre world has to offer. If you like this episode, why not give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts? Tell your friends at work around the water cooler. Sit down with your pet and listen to it religiously. Or just become a loyal little TT Pod fan. You can get full access to the podcasts, a shout out on one of our episodes, as well as earlier access to our podcast episodes for as little as $5 a month. Or if you're a little bit stretched on cash, why not just support us for $3 a month? Be sure to follow us on our Instagram at ttpod_official, where you can see all of our content online. So get ready to switch on those thoughts as you enjoy a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. Welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. We're here in our first live interview with the cast of Expiration Date. So I'm going to introduce them one by one. We have our live little studio audience with us, which I'm very, very excited about. So let's start with the woman on my left. So we have an Australian, South African, Western Sydney actor, singer, theatre maker and choreographer who grew up on Darawal country. Her debut play, Expiration Date, premiered at the Adelaide Fringe in 2023. Other recent works include Camp, Where Shall We Meet and Tiny Universe, most recently directing work for Teen Angst, an original musical with Lucy Heffernan and Shopfront Arts Co-op 2022 Senior Ensemble. It is Lana Filies. Welcome!
Hi.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a performer and writer who started performing at the age of 6, performed in numerous shows across the Illawarra, including Short and Sweet Illawarra and Reuben Guthrie. Debuted his one-man show as part of a Shopfront Co-op Arts Lab in 2023, which I had the pleasure of seeing. And he's worked with Eden Gorge Theatre Company in their outdoor theatrical experiences. It's Flynn Maplebeck. Yay. Welcome. And then, swiftly on, we have a director, a writer and a performer, recently written and directed The Infinity Mirror for Shopfront's Arts Lab and Fledgling as part of Maragon X. Facilitated workshops for young people with Shopfront, has a passion for providing young people with the tools to use their own voices. You were our first Artist of the Month at Theatre Thoughts. It's Lily Hayman. And last but not least, we have a production manager and theatre maker who has been the operations manager at Shopfront's Art Co-op since 2020. Production credits include A Practical Guide to Self-Defence with the National Theatre of Parramatta and Fledgling at KXC in 2022. And I haven't told you, but she is our next Artist of the Month at Theatre Thoughts. It's Tyler Fitzpatrick.
No one's ever said that before.
Some people pretend she's not, but she is.
Welcome. How did the show go this afternoon? Or tonight, I should say.
Yeah, it was a sad one.
Oh, was it?
It was very good.
I had a little tear.
I
did. I had a little tear running down my face. I was like, I felt that.
In character?
Yeah, in character.
In character.
And in life, but mostly the character. But yeah, it was nice. I think the adrenaline for the first week has well and truly worn off.
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, feeling. Yeah.
Well, I had the pleasure of seeing the show on Saturday for your opening night, and it was great. It was very topical. Your acting was great as well.
Oh,
I think
you.
you've worked very well on stage together. Yeah, there's a real natural presence as well. So congratulations on
thanks so
debuting
much.
at Meraki.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk about you.
Okay.
First of all, okay. So, Expiration Date, you wrote it. Mm-hmm. It's your first play.
It is.
Where did it start?
In kind of two places. So we were trapped in lockdown, as we all were, and I had this insane dream that I was trapped in an elevator with my ex, and I was being pressed with all of these questions of like, why don't you want to be a parent, or why don't you want to be this woman that everybody expects you to be? Because like my whole life I've been told like I'm so maternal, or I'm really great with kids, or blah blah blah, but I completely reject that. No offense, kids.
Okay.
No offense. And so then I had this dream, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Wrote in my journal, and then forced this one to come on walks with me in lockdown. And I was like, I just don't want that life. And then we just chatted about how different it was and how much Flynn does want that life. And I was like, insane. So then we just recorded these conversations on my phone. And then one day I turned to Flynn and I was like, now this is something, isn't it? and then the play began. I just transcribed all of our conversations, and that's how we started making the show.
That's incredible. I really kind of envy that sort of brain. I really wish that I could write something like that, but that's like, it's incredible.
Oh, thanks. You definitely could write
Oh,
something.
well, but it's also very topical, like I said, because obviously it came from the Roe versus Wade overturning in America, which is extremely, prevalent and controversial as well.
It overturned on the day that we previewed the show for the first time to people, and I remember turning to these guys and I was like, as if this is happening right now, like today, as if this is happening, and then that room just felt so. I don't know how would you describe it? Like
just real, I guess, would be the thing. It's the reality of the show. It really seeped into, like, the connection between what was happening in reality and now the fiction of the show has really became
just
one.
Melded. It was crazy.
Right. Okay.
It was crazy.
And speaking of, and you two, Purple Tape Productions. So am I correct? It is just you two who are the
It's just us. We do everything. Oops. So, for example, in this show, we did the set, the lights. I directed it. Tyler production managed it. We produced it, and it came through our pipeline. So we all went to uni together. We all went to UOW. Woo! And even Justin.
On Saturday.
So UOW represent. But yeah, we kind of realised that we can do all of it ourselves, and it's way better. Even though it does stress us out sometimes, I think we actually work really well that way because we just get each other. So it just makes it nice and easy.
Well, before I steal everyone's questions, I want to open up to the room. If anyone has a question they want to ask before I keep chatting away, if anyone's got a question, feel free to... We'll do it like school. Pop your hand up and I'll come over to you. Oh, excellent. I'm coming over with the mic.
Bless you, Tom Crotty.
You don't have to say your name if you don't want to. You can just ask a question.
Hi, my name's Tom. I'm from Darlinghurst.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I just had a quick question for Lily Hayman.
Oh, God.
Okay, sure. I've never held one of these before. Congratulations on the show. It was great.
Cheers,
Well
thank
done.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
When I first saw that there was a show set in an elevator, I got a bit claustrophobic because as an audience member, I go, how does that work? How do I I was interested in how I was going to be engaged in a show that's just set in this 4x4 place. I was. Thank you. Thank you. It was great. But my question is, for actually anybody can answer this, but as a director, Lily, I was wondering, how did you meet that challenge, and what was that like in the rehearsal room, being like, cool, we've got this one space, we can't leave it, that's the premise of the show. How do we keep this engaging?
Yes. I actually have to credit these two a lot because I actually came on quite late in the show. So they already had kind of the bare bones of what you saw tonight ready to go when they asked me to direct it. So as we said, we did a kind of a development showing in May of last year, which is when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I was just the producer that provided the space for the development to happen, and kind of came in at the end and got to see it. And Lana kind of asked me at the end of that if I would like to direct it moving forward, and I said yes. And they'd done a lot of that energetic work themselves, and I think that's because this play comes from them, so a lot of the energy of the work is theirs. So I didn't have to do heaps of work about like getting that right. But then when I came in, I think it was just about being that person outside of the elevator who could help make the picture work. So it could be like, okay, like, yeah, it's great that you're talking to each other in this bit, but this is really important and you're facing the back. So,
which happens so much.
So like,
nice wall. I was like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, open your eyes, please. Like,
Literally.
like these were some of the really early directions that I took with it. But then I really want to say that after Adelaide, actually, I think we learnt a lot from Adelaide because we had no set, we had no lights. It was a piece of tape on the ground and these two acting. And there was a few people who saw it in Adelaide who've seen it up here. And like, definitely, I think it's come into its own here with all those things and a bit of new writing. But I think we learnt a lot from that we could hold the energy of that work when these two were on and when they were with each other. You could just hold the energy. And so that was great for me as a director because my usual style is to duck in and out of moments and like have all this movement, and like most of my shows have puppets in them and like la 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 la. I'm a big theatrical kind of director, so coming down to doing this was big. Was really exciting because I was like, I can do that. I can do this too. It was really nice. So I'm really glad I got to have that challenge and play with it with two people that I'm very good friends with as well. I think that helped.
Yeah.
I was going to say as well that with the showing, one of my biggest concerns going into it, because it was just a loose audience, I was like, can you have two people in an elevator make that work? Is that just, visually going to hold up? And then that was kind of my first question to everyone that saw it after. I was like, did you find it boring? They're like, no, we wanted it longer. And that was like one of the main concerns for us because it was only, I think, 35 minutes or something like that.
Something short.
A year ago, yeah. And then they said, no, make it longer, which was a very weird.
And they said, we want to be with you. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, thanks. We want to be with you. Yeah, so, yeah.
And spend more time together, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions before I run back? You run at the back.
Whoa. Michael.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Michael. This is my partner, by the way.
Hello. This question is for Lana, which is also my partner.
Yes.
You said in the lovely intro to your bio as well that the conception of this idea came about in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you, with the realization of you being in an elevator stuck, also kind of connects with you being in isolation. And if you weren't in a lockdown, how would you conceptualize this show as a piece, whereas you wouldn't be stuck in a lockdown?
It's a great question, Dol.
It's better than what's your favourite colour question.
Yeah. Well, that was coming up. I really did think you were going to ask me what my favourite colour was. But no, that's a really good question. I think, well, I don't know. Like, it was the pressure of lockdown, I think, and I felt so. We also downsized a house. So the first lockdown, we lived in a massive house, and the second one, we moved it to an apartment, just the four of us. And it felt like I was too big for the house almost. Like, I felt like anything I could do was, I was going to explode or exude out of this house because I just had so much pent-up energy that I think that all came into my subconscious, and then even in my dreams I was trapped. And so it became like a whirlpool of terror, really. Like it was, and I didn't think I could see the end of it. So I don't know how I would have conceptualized it. I actually don't know if it would have happened if we weren't in lockdown. I probably would have gone on to make like fairy movement dancing pieces in my, because that's what I do. That's my type of theatre. Like, and so this is so different. But like, it was the one thing that I was so grateful for because of lockdown. Yeah, good question.
A follow-up to that, how did that translate on stage for you? Like, does it have like an actual part in the stage you can pinpoint and go, that's where that came from?
Yeah. There's moments, there's conversations. that I've had to put barriers on because I'm like, this is very real. These are really real conversations. So it's about protecting myself in those moments because, it's quite terrifying sometimes how you could just think back to having these conversations with partners, and I'm sure we all have. So,
well, I mean, I think we had a discussion on Saturday that
Yeah.
I feel it's exactly the same. I was like, I don't really want kids, you know, and,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like that's in my life personally, like right now anyway.
Yeah.
But I think you made the comment that it's not very often that guys say that.
Completely.
But then I think I also said that guys will never understand ever the choices that, you know, females have to make.
Yeah.
As much as we want to sympathise and be an ally and so on, we just never will.
Yeah, that's completely right.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, wanted to ask, Flynn, when Lana gave you the call and you said, I have this idea for a play.
Yeah.
Do you want to be in it? What was the first sort of process like? Because you were, based on your one-man show, in lockdown by yourself.
Yeah, so so my solo show was basically based around me being in lockdown completely alone and then only having really like calls and very rarely going outside. And when Lana told me about the show, it was such an interesting idea of like two people trapped in an elevator and how that would kind of materialize would just be an interesting kind of two-hander. But also I thought what would be really interesting was the relationship of having an ex is always, because you've got this love for this person that you've used to have or continue to have, but you don't want to show it. And then also the longer times you spend with your ex, the more problems that either arise, but also the nice memories also come flushing back. And so when Lana and I were talking about these characters and how they get along so well, and then there's this one concept that they both won't agree on and won't change about themselves, and they're both completely in the right to stay that way. I think that was what really drew me in. It was two people that would work but don't work, and the grey area in between that.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
Well, I guess I'm bouncing around. Tyler, over to you with that. How did it come to your mind with the production elements of staging this?
Yes. Well, like Lily said, every time before this, it's just been a piece of tape on the floor. And something that I was like, and something that these two were like, can we please have a back wall? Can we please have a back wall? I was like, no, just have a curtain. Jeez. And then in Adelaide, we tried to do like the button. So we had like a really awful, like, piece of foam with the buttons, the same buttons on it. And like it was jutting out of the wall and it was like falling down. It was awful.
Wouldn't make for the best realism, would it?
Literally. Yeah, it was like you kind of it was at one point when Lana, like the part where Lana like presses the buttons really fast, it kind of came off the wall and Lily and I were like, oh god, push it back on. So we like kind of had elements of that in Adelaide, and we tested maybe having some like reflective material for the back, and we were like, oh god, that's awful. And then it was really organic and really last minute to do this, whatever is in there. Like 7 days before, it was literally just pieces of junk like in the room. Nothing that's in there right now. It was just like these pieces of recycled things that we'd collected at Shopfront, because that's where we're always at.
Thank you,
Clearly
Shopfront.
through all of our bios, that's where the only place we go is Shopfront, which is so true. There were just like pieces of things, and Lily and I were like, this is not it. And so we were like, well, we'll just have to like fork out some money for some stainless steel. And that flat that is in there has been in the last like 5 Meraki main stage shows. So it's kind of just like been here and never left, because surely no one wants to carry that down the stairs.
Yeah. I was sitting there going, it must be in their contract that every show has to have that. But no, that's answered it
No,
for me.
it's literally just everyone being like, hey, can I use that flat that you used? Who do I ask? And they're like, it's kind of like it just kind of happens. So that's really nice. For the first like Meraki main stage, it's a really nice thing. And then we just begged, borrowed and stealed for the rest. Stealed?
Great English.
Stole it. Was, borrowed. Anyway, can't speak. We just kind of like whacked it all together, and then we were like, and some of it's your friend Courtney's who moved to England. She was like, do you want this stuff that I have? And we were like, yeah, that looks silver and elevatory. So we've been like collecting pieces for like the last maybe 9 months. And then we kind of just drilled it all into the flat, and it kind of worked really well.
It's the magic of theatre.
Yeah.
Running a small business? Are you promoting a new show or running a theatre space? Maybe you're looking for an area to reach potential new clients. Why not advertise with us on the Theatre Thoughts podcast? We have a range of packages and prices for you to put your ad right here on the podcast. For more information, contact us at theatrethoughtsteam@outlook.com or by heading to our website, theatrethoughtsaus.online. All right. Well, does anyone have a question before my big one that I want to ask?
Oh my God.
Anyone have any other questions? Yes. Oh, we're going up there.
Oh,
I'm coming over. This is where I do my intermission music. Dun, 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 dun.
Hi, my name's Darlene.
Hi, Darlene.
Hi, Darlene.
And I've had the pleasure of working with these three very talented young women.
Not me, I'll hide in the corner.
But I just wanted to say thank you for putting on a show that expresses the views and experiences of a lot of women in the world that sort of are ignored or shunned or just not acknowledged. And parts of the story are just being brave and saying it out loud. Parts of the story echo my life. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for putting the show on.
Thank you for saying that,
I'm
darling.
wanted to ask you, what sort of research did you do to put the show together, the story, talking to other people about it and
that was the
proper
main thing. I spoke to a lot of women in my life that modelled the lifestyle that I kind of wanted to emulate, or people that I admire, which a lot of those people are single women with no children. And both of my mentors, one a single woman with no children living in Potts Point, and the other a CEO with a child, and it's incredible. So I had these beautiful in-depth conversations with so many gorgeous women who were willing to open their lives and their hearts and their stories and their successes and their failures in relationships, out of relationships, how they have moved through their career, how they haven't. And that was the research. It was just talking to really incredible women who have just held me for so long, and yeah, it was such a privilege to be able to do that. And so those conversations kind of inspired the things that I really wanted to say. And then Roe v. Wade happened, and then I just went into that kind of loophole hole, and I started looking through all of those things, and it came down to, what did I really, really want to say about this? And it's okay to not have children. That was the through line, and so that's what it was. So yeah.
Great question, thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah. Well, my big question I want to ask is, I'd love to know how you believe the theatre industry has changed in recent years, and how that has impacted the work you do.
That's a huge question.
Yeah, I'll let you have a think about it, and
Justin.
we'll edit.
Yeah.
But have a think of what you want to say. But yeah, so how has the theatre industry changed in recent years, and how has it impacted the work you create and the work you do?
Please.
I love this question.
Shut up.
You'll ruin the podcast. That is a fantastic question. I think I'm coming from a perspective of someone who works at Shopfront Arts Co-op, works with a lot of amazing young artists who are coming through right now. So I definitely understand that my perspective is one that kind of entered the industry as it was changing. And I wouldn't say that I have a perfect knowledge of what it was like before. But I think it's worth acknowledging that the industry has always been propped up on unpaid labour, and that the industry has always required young people in particular to kind of do dangerous things and put themselves out there, and has asked young people to really make huge sacrifices in their lives to be able to have a career in the arts. And I think the new generation coming through is, I believe, starting to stick up for themselves more and making changes in that area. But I do think that there's a lot more work to be done. And I think a huge part of that is that the industry needs to be funded more, because if you don't have the funding, these people still want to make work, and they're going to go out there and make it for free, and they're going to go out there and lean over a ladder, and they're going to go out there and do whatever the big person in the room asks them to do because they want to have a career and they want to be known as someone who will work hard. Like, I remember I've been asked to like pick up lights that were on that are burning hot and move them, which is terrible. Like, I shouldn't, but like, because I was in a big room.
That wasn't me.
That was not Tyler. But like big people, like big like creatives who have careers have asked me to do wild things, and I've done them because it's a career I want to have, and so I do think that that has always been a feature, and the way that I have been incredibly lucky to work at Shopfront Arts Co-op because the people who work there don't ask that of young people, and the people who work there are incredibly generous. Like, for example, hello Daniel Potter, who has allowed me way more leave than I should have had to be able to do this and other works. And I understand that if I didn't have that place, I wouldn't be making the work I'm making. So I think in general, I think we need the industry to shift more towards that model of supporting artists. And I just really do hope that continues. I think there's hope on the horizon. But I think there's a lot of cultural work to be done in theatre spaces to get rid of that idea that you just have to work yourself to death before you're allowed to have any money, let alone good money. So that is my opinion on that.
Well, Albo, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Hi. Please. Yeah. Just riffing off where we work. Hello, we're obsessed with our jobs. This is a show. I've been so grateful to work with theatre companies such as Shopfront, such as Milk Crate Theatre Company, who harness individual story and take from personal perspective and bring them forth to the stage. And that is the most incredibly brave thing to do. And to have honest and integrity on stage, the audience feels that in a different way to something that is completely fictionalized. So the more that people like don't have to bare their souls and to be dangerous, but to come from some sort of truth and speak from truth, that's where the industry begins to change. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that I've learnt and get to be a part of. Yeah.
That's great.
I think I've got a bit of a weird perspective on it since I've finished uni in 2020. Right. So I kind of only really came into the real theatre space.
Oh my God, that's 10 years after I started. My God.
Oh, sorry.
Keep going, please. Keep going. We're going to edit that out.
Yeah, just a beep over it, But yeah, so during 2019 I was kind of setting up to go on a few shows and do all these things for my final year at uni, and then we were doing Zoom calls. Trying to do a uni degree over Zoom does not work. And most of my assessments were uploading a YouTube video, and then they'd watch it and then like it and dislike it. It was just this whole thing. And you'd be like, yeah,
that's awesome.
It's so it was rough. It was very funny though. And then like your castmates were like, and then it was hilarious. Anyway,
oh my God,
yeah, it was morbidly funny. But so when I kind of, after 2021, after the second lockdown kind of came out, I had all of these projects that I had lined up for 2-3 years at this point that I wanted to do, but we didn't really have, the space or lockouts and restrictions and all that. And so what I really grasped just from the people that had been in the industry longer and either the directors and stuff was that they were just so hungry to put something out. So they had so much energy built up that they just wanted to put theatre out there, and then even if they could only have 5 people in the audience because of restrictions, or they would take it anywhere where they would less in a different area, in a different, what was it called? Not IGA. LGA. That's why.
Just outside the IGA.
Yeah.
You're joking.
Yeah, I knew it was not IGA, that's why I said it. No, I knew I was close enough. The closest Coles, yeah. But yeah, it was just
like
really...
Romeo and Juliet, but Coles and Woolies instead.
Coles and Woolies, yeah.
Oh my
you
God.
can only go to one or the other. You're not allowed to cross. Yeah. But yeah, it was just really, in a weird way, it was quite inspiring to watch all these people that had 2 years of just block, 2 years of wanting to get all this stuff done, and this show is very much similar to that, where, like we said, like 2020 is when I got the call from Lana, and 2021.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's only 2 years. But, like, it's been so long coming, and we've just had so much energy to do it, and it's been very, inspiring, I think is the word, to watch all these creatives just release all this built-up energy that they've just want to make it. So, I can't really speak for what was beforehand, because I was high school and then uni and then just didn't really do much. But,
And I think, like, from the guests I've spoken to, I've hoped that we go through, like, I've said a renaissance of art, because, if history's taught us anything, plague renaissance. So hopefully we're going through that. And I feel like we are, because there is this backlog of art that everyone's just dying to get on.
Yeah.
Tyler, did you want to add anything before I ask you our 1 minute theatre thoughts?
I guess my perspective is from a production perspective. So obviously if you haven't heard, there's a crew shortage, a major one. So that's sort of still a repercussion of COVID. But I think that aside, a lot of people are feeling like the pressure to be creating amazing art, because we've had all of this time to, like, sit and think. So the pressure is also not helping that situation. But the flip side, because let's not end on a downer, is that we are we're getting amazing mentorships and programs, and also just, like, organic sort of relationships that are happening where young people or emerging technicians, designers are starting to sort of pop up and feel a little bit more ownership over asking to be involved. Hi, Georgia.
Hi, Georgia.
So Georgia is our fabulous stage manager and operator, and I taught Georgia at Shopfront when she was 14, and now she is 18. Wow. Lol. But, like, that's also not just, like, that sort of a very, like, high school to young adult situation. But I also have, like, an amazing mentor in Potter, like, in production, and sort of, like, stepping now into, like, the main stage scene, while also taking way too much time off for purple's sake, but also having those sort of mentorships and collaborations where you don't just rely on one person to run an entire production team at a theatre company. So that's the really nice thing, I think, that's come from COVID, that people are asking for help more and asking for mentorship.
Excellent. Those are great answers. Thank you so much. Well, the way we always end our podcast episodes is I do what's called 1 minute theatre thoughts. Now, I've never done it with 4 people before, so this is going to be a bit of a change. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
So ready.
What has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
The Wasp at KXT.
Oh, Six the Musical.
Straight Talk by Marigeku.
Oh, that's a really good one. Sex Magic at Griffin.
Oh, true.
Nice. What's your go-to karaoke song?
That don't impress me much, Shania Twain.
That song that goes, don't want to close my eyes.
Don't want to miss a
Don't want to miss a thing. There you go.
Tree?
Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. Sorry, Dad, he hates Queen.
Oops, I Did It Again, Britney Spears.
Who inspired you as a young theatre maker?
Natalie Rose and Jane Fagan.
Ooh. I had a guy in high school, Mitchell Chury.
My cousin, Matt Prest.
I was going to say Nat or Matt, so there we go.
And the last question, which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
Oh.
You can tell we're theatre people. That's the reaction.
I don't know.
The current Complicity show. I cannot remember. It's a really long title, but that
that's
current
true.
Complicity
It's
show
true.
that's on right now, I want
Yes.
to see it really
Yes.
bad.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called, though.
Maybe Fleabag with Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
God,
Actually
yes.
being Fleabag.
Yes.
Like, she could come here and then we could be friends. Thank you. Hi, Phoebe.
I don't want to say The Lion King the musical.
So many times.
I haven't seen it since I was 6. I know. I'm sorry. I never got the chance. All right, I'm sorry.
Grow up.
I haven't seen it since I was like 5, and I miss it. All right, leave me alone.
I can't think of a single theatre show.
That's okay. The Lion King.
Lion
Finish
King.
it there.
Great. I miss it.
I've seen it twice.
I saw it once when I was 5, and I miss it. Yeah.
Next.
But I was 5. I don't
Moving
remember it.
on.
Absolute garbage.
Excellent. And, well, I guess that's roughly a minute. Well done. Well, thank you guys
Oh my
so
God.
much for jumping on. Congratulations with the show.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone, for joining us and
Thanks,
staying
everyone.
behind tonight and for all your amazing questions. We'll give you a round of applause to end the podcast.
Wow, thank you. Well done, you.
thank you to Lana, Flynn, Lily and Tyler for joining me on the podcast. A massive thank you to Margaret, Luke and the team at Meraki Arts Bar for helping to organise the Q&A and this episode. You can find out more about Purple Tape Productions and their next event, Tapeover, by heading to purpletapeproductions.com. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube and Patreon. My name's Justin Clark and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast.
Have you ever wondered how your favorite performer actually feels? Well, here's your chance. Welcome to The Quiet Part Out Loud with me, Bobby Steggert, Broadway actor and now a therapist to a whole host of Broadway creatives. Part interview, part therapy, this is not your typical podcast. We'll go right to the heart of things with some of your favorite artists, what they still struggle with, what lessons they've learned, what they haven't figured out yet. There is enormous power in saying the quiet part out loud. Are you listening?